turns towards Simon and asks if he must be Simon Follentia, so Simon replies he is and thanks her for her help. When Simon asks who she is, the girl replies she is his real guide, and by grabbing his arm, she tells Simon to follow her as her mother is waiting. After leaving the alley, she starts searching for her mom. But suddenly, she sees her mom on an ice cream stall and gets mad at her mother because she told her to stay put. Simon is shocked to see the girl's mother is Neftis, and the girl tells Neftis to stop wandering by herself. But Neftis says the ice cream vendor was holding a free tasting event, so she went there. The girl asks Neftis what she would do if Simon and Neftis got lost because of that. Suddenly, Neftis welcomes Simon and says he must have learned some things from Richard. Simon says he has learned some things, and as he shows her his flame of darkness, Neftis says it's been a while since she has seen the darkness in a shade of blue. The girl says it still has the property of mana and swirling like a flame, which means it's still in its vapor state. Neftis says Simon can learn how to use his core more effectively in school, and tells her daughter Lorraine to guide her new student, Simon. Lorraine says Neftis always makes her do all the hard work, and then she introduces herself to Simon as Lorraine Arkbold, a Keysen student, just like Simon is. When Lorraine tells Simon they'll go shopping for the new semester, Simon is shocked. Lorraine tells Simon that the most exciting moment in the entire school year is when they shop for uniforms, textbooks, and other supplies before entering school. Lorraine takes him to buy some textbooks, and the first book she shows to Simon is Introduction to Summoning by Elric Moore Trimble. Suddenly, she starts picking books one after another for Simon, and Simon worryingly tells her not to say that he will learn all these books in his first year. Lorraine says he will not learn them because he will master them in the first semester and throws another book at him to catch. While Lorraine goes to bring the last book, Simon sees other students buying books there and thinks he has never been with so many people of his age like this. Suddenly, Simon sees a girl coming his way, but she accidentally bumps into a bookshelf, and Simon immediately saves her from the books falling on her head. Simon asks if she is okay, to which she replies she is fine and apologizes to Simon. But Simon says he was in her way, and he is sorry for that. While they put back the books, the girl introduces herself as a new student of Keysen, and her name is Cindy Vives. Simon tells her his name and says he is also a new student at Keysen. Cindy is pleased to meet him and tells him she is from Shad in the north and has no close friends. When Simon says he also doesn't have any friends yet, Cindy gets happy and asks if it's okay with him if she can say hello to him at school. Simon was going to ask the same thing, so he said she could, and after that, she said she had to leave because her father was waiting outside, and they decided to meet at school. While Cindy is leaving, Simon asks her if she is not going to return his wallet, and Cindy gets shocked because she thinks she won't get caught as she uses spirit magic to steal it. When Cindy asks how he knows, Simon says he saw his wallet floating in the air, and Cindy can't believe that he noticed it and asks if he is also aiming to major in spiritology. Simon says he hasn't decided yet, but Cindy gets excited to think Keysen is on another level, and it must be full of kids like Simon. Simon thinks she is too shameless for a pickpocket, but Cindy excitedly says if they both major in spiritology, they could compete with each other when the time comes. Cindy returns his wallet and tells him to not be a stranger when he sees her at school, and she leaves. Meanwhile, Lorraine arrives, saying that the bookshop is out of copies for the Introduction to Darkness Dynamics, but once it's back in stock, they'll deliver it to his dorm. Simon thinks it's great, and Lorraine tells him they now need to buy a bag for him, but it's not like his ordinary bag. It's a bag that Necromancers use, a magical inventory called Subspace. Lorraine takes him to a shop and tells its owner she needs a subspace with the least limitations for Simon. The shop has a prototype that's not on the market yet and gives Simon a ring to let the darkness flow into the ring. Simon wears the ring and the lady says he'll feel a handle to his touch and tells him to pull on it, thinking of it as a lever. Suddenly, a subspace appears in the ground, and the lady says this subspace is the latest product from Jelen Eclipse, the young next generation master craftsman, and it can load up to 4000 UB. The lady says this subspace can open up to any ground, and the space features a total of 7 magic spells, including grade 1 preservation and temperature control spells. Wearing the subspace can activate the invisibility spell to hide his location from his enemies, and Simon is impressed to see it and thinks it'll cost a fortune. When Lorraine asks the owner, Stephanie, how much it cost, she replies it costs 5,000 gold coins. Simon is shocked, but when he sees Lorraine is buying it, Lorraine tells him not to worry because it's her mom's money. Lorraine says she doesn't know how, but her mother is greatly indebted to his parents, so she is returning the favor. Simon thinks it's a huge gift and how he could ever repay Nephthys, but Lorraine tells him to do well in Kizan if he wants to repay. After shopping, Lorraine takes Simon to show him the city, and she says she is sure Simon will do well at school. While having dinner, she tells Simon that about 30% of Kizan are commoners, so he shouldn't think about bossing others about his status. Lorraine says Kizan is strictly based on a merit system, so Simon replies he'll keep that in mind. When Lorraine asks if Simon has some questions because tomorrow is his first day at school, Simon says the girl he saw in the bookstore told him something about majors. Lorraine tells Simon that he'll be taking 9 courses in the first semester of his first grade. From the second semester, he can choose electives he wants to take, and once he advances to the second grade, he has to declare a major. Simon understands he has to quickly figure out which subject he is good at, and Lorraine recommends he decide on his main courses and focus on studying those because when it comes to group homework, the students with clear strengths are more popular. When Lorraine asks if he has a major in mind, Simon replies he is interested in summonology a bit because what Lorraine showed him during the day was quite impressive. Lorraine says summonology is great because it gives off the vibes of an orthodox magician, and one of Kizan's faculty members is Professor Hengpeng. Simon is excited to meet the professors, and after dinner, Lorraine takes him to his lodging and tells him to have a good rest because if Nephthys hears Simon is late tomorrow from hanging out with Lorraine, she'll beat her to death. Simon thanks Lorraine, but while she is leaving, she tells Simon that she is also a new student and she somehow missed the right time to tell him. After telling this, Lorraine leaves, but Simon is shocked to hear that. The next day, Simon heads to the ship that will take them to Kizan, and he is baffled to see everyone has such unique styles. But he is the most ordinary looking there. Simon remembers Lorraine telling him she'd be coming in on a different route, so he'd meet her at school. While Simon is showing his pass to get on the ship, he suddenly sees a guy saying that he is number 1 on the waitlist and will not give up his admission. Simon hears a guy saying that there are always kids like this who can't accept their results, but it's disappointing that this kid is number 1 on the waitlist but still gets rejected. The boy yells he is Lucas Carroll, the hire of a countship in the Dresden Kingdom, and orders the staff there to contact Kizan headquarters, but the staff there tells him to go back as his name is not on the admission list. Lucas, with great anguish, grabs the staff's hair and is going to punch him, but Simon grabs his hand. Lucas yells at Simon to let go of his hand, but Simon breaks his hand, so Lucas yells and says Simon must be looking for a quick death. Suddenly, Professor Sillage arrives there and asks what's going on there. Sillage asks if Lucas has any last words, but Lucas tells him to call Nephthys immediately because it's not a laughing matter as he is the number on the waiting list. While Lucas is saying Sillage will not get away with treating him like this, suddenly Sillage with a snap kills Lucas in front of Simon and tells the students to immediately get on the ship as they don't have much time. Simon hears students whispering that Sillage used hematic black magic, and first graders can also take his class. After they get on the ship, Sillage tells them to be seated until the next announcement because the ship may experience some turbulence during the trip. While Simon wonders how the ship will sail, Sillage creates a barrier around the ship, and suddenly, the students are shocked to see a whale appear on the surface. The whale swallows the ship and goes deep in the water. The whale is the underwater undead that obeys the order of Kizan, and it's a monster that travels the ocean worldwide and takes bites out of any harbor Kizan designates. Once a year, the whale transports the new students of Kizan to school as Kizan's high-speed transportation. Simon thinks it's pretty pleasant in there, considering how the ship is inside the whale's stomach, and it seems people are living inside. Simon meets another new student, Rowan, and when Rowan asks what kind of admission exam Simon took, Simon gets confused because he didn't take any exam as Nephthys just shoved the admission letter to him. Rowan says he caused the darkness to shift forms in his test, and Simon thinks he might get into a fairness issue if he tells the truth, so he says he gave the same test. Suddenly, an announcement is made for the students to return to their seats because they'll arrive shortly. Simon notices the waters have grown a bit rougher, but he gets on his seat, and there is an announcement that they'll experience some turbulence, so they should take hold of the handrail in front of their seats to prepare for any impact. Suddenly, the whale blows out the ship in the air, and Simon is impressed by the view, so he tells Rowan to look at it. Sillage safely lands the ship on the shore and announces they have arrived at Kizan. The new students are told to line up in rows of 4s because the staff will distribute their uniforms. The students were told to use the dressing rooms to change in 5 minutes and assemble again outside. As his father said, Simon thinks it's a stylish uniform, and he could even wear it to a banquet. The students discuss their uniform jackets have magical spells, and it doubles as a combat suit. The students were told to head to the auditorium, and Simon wondered if they were all new students because there were so many. Rowan tells Simon that there are 1,000 new students for the first semester. It shrinks to 300 in the second grade, and not even 150 would be left in the third. Simon is shocked, and Rowan tells him that among 1,000 students, only the top 30% can advance to the second grade.